Hey everybody, can you all, everybody here? Everybody can hear me? Anyone logged in with their computer, you can write chats in the chat box, and Chris Sauber will be joining uh, right now. So this one's all about business development, and really this one was inspired by our clients and the questions we've been getting. So a lot of new entrepreneurs starting clinics. And by the way, if you called in rather than using your computer, don't worry. This is being recorded and it's going to go on YouTube. Same thing for those of you listening on the podcast, because we put this on our podcast as well. It will go on YouTube. So if you want to see the slides, you will see them on YouTube. Also, anyone who registered will get a replay link. So send your questions in as we go. There's actually a lot of slides. I actually looked at them this time. And they look really good. Amy outdid herself for these ones.
Outdid herself.
At least design wise. So so anyways, this topic was inspired by our clients. A lot of new research site entrepreneurs, brand new research site owners. We're doing the biz dev for them, and which we do for anyone who wants to hire us as consultants, but even for our own sites, right? So we do the reaching out, we do the feasibility surveys, we'll do the budgets, but really before we even get to do all those things, there is the initial email pitch, which we're going to get into here, but then there's follow-ups, because it's rare that you just get to send one email and then you'll get a feasibility or a CDA survey and then a feasibility survey. Like, it requires following up, follow up. It's underneath my video trailers. It's like my motto that I live by as a biz dev person. And it pretty much applies to everything in life too, but it's all about the follow up. So let's get into the slides now to show you, number one, how to send the initial email pitch, and then, because there's different strategies, and then how to follow up effectively. So let's get into the slides. So why is biz dev important? Okay, the research industry, if there's one word to describe it, it's volatile, right? It's feast or famine. I was just talking to a business partner the other day. This is feast or famine. It seems like there's no in between for many of these sites, especially the smaller sites. Some of the bigger sites, they're more, insulated from market volatilities, but even they're not immune to it. No one's immune to it, but they're a little more protected. But for the small and mid-sized sites, which are most of you, which are us, which are quite honestly most of the research sites in this fragmented market, like the vast majority are small research sites, it's volatile. So you always want to have a full pipeline of studies, which is another reason why people hire us, because we do this for you in the background so you can focus on other things and you can focus on following up. And it doesn't hurt to biz dev as well, even if you hire us. You can never have enough opportunities in your pipeline. So some sites, it is true when a site reaches a point where they've established themselves in the industry, they can rest on their laurels a bit, and they sometimes do. It's not recommended, but you can survive by just relying on inbound leads, which is basically repeat business from past study clients, right? So let's say you did a good study with a particular sponsor, and your site metrics were decent. They will probably come back to you for another study. Same thing with CRO. So you can rely on this at some point, but you got to get to that point first. And even when you get there, it's not wise. You can do it. it probably is not going to start affecting you for 6, maybe even 12 months, depending on how many inbound leads you're getting. But at some point, if that's all you're doing and you're not doing any biz dev, it is going to affect you. Your pipeline will dry up. So this is why biz dev should be a #1 priority. This is why we tell all of our clients, all of our partners, anyone watching, anyone listening, when you start a clinic, I don't care what your background was prior to starting a clinic. Let's say you were a CRA, let's say you were a PhD scientist. I don't care what you were. Let's say you were a college dropout. You're now a salesperson. That's your role. And business development is your top priority.
And you may have mentioned this, but
get to the mic. Get to the mic.
You may have mentioned this. I've been in and out of the office, so you can never have too many studies. And what I mean by that is, yes, obviously you can have too many studies for your staff, but don't think that I can halt on business development now, right? I have plenty of studies, because it really, this industry get more studies, right? So even though you're too busy right now to even handle what you have, you should still be doing business development. And on top of that, even if a study does come along that you really want to do because you have the patient population, you can always hire more staff. Doesn't mean, and nobody likes to fire anybody, but it doesn't mean that you can't lay somebody off if things slow down. I mean, yeah, always be working on business development.
Yep, top priority. Okay, so, and by the way, all this following up and email pitches that we're about to get into, it can also apply to people looking for consulting gigs or looking for work or looking to become interns maybe at a clinic. So maybe it's not a top priority for you to open your own site right now, or maybe you never want to open your own site, but this is pretty much the same advice we would give to anyone looking for a job in this industry. Is it's most likely going to be done, your communication is most likely going to be done through email, and you have an initial pitch and then you have follow-up pitches. And a lot of the tools that we're going to get into here apply to you guys and gals as well, and also for consultants and also for CROs looking to get more work. I mean, if you're just trying to biz dev in general, I know a lot of this is going to be catered towards sites, but try to think of ways that you can apply these same strategies to your own initiatives that you're doing. Even if you're just a person looking for a job, this is the way to do it. So we talked about the inbound leads, right? Sites can passively get studies from sponsors or CROs that they've worked with in the past. That's going to happen. That's an added benefit of being in this business. We get studies passively all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But we still biz dev. We still biz dev 24/7 in the background. So, so don't rely on just inbound leads. The most of what you're going to do is outbound leads, right? Most sites start out with only outbound leads. These consist of cold pitches and warm pitches and following up on studies found on clinicaltrials.gov. Sites should constantly be following up on outbound leads to ensure there will always be something on the horizon. Just because you email somebody once and you don't hear back from them, or maybe you do hear back from them, that doesn't mean that it's over. You've got to follow up, and that's really where the art comes into this. This is science and art, and that's really where the art, and there's a lot of science also. We're going to get into some of the tools and the technologies that you can utilize to make this more efficient for you. Okay, so those are the 2 ways to get studies. Number 1, the canned email. Okay, sometimes quantity is more effective than quality. All right, in an ideal world, we want to send high quality and high quantity, but that's just not going to be possible most of the time. So I'm going to show you how to most effectively use high quantity and then later generate high quality emails in the process. So the first one, the canned email. This approach consists of sending generic, pre-written emails to a high volume of study leads. While most recipients can usually tell when you are sending a canned email, you are bound to find some sponsors who are looking for sites at any given time. So this is really just timing and good luck. But we all know it when we see it. We get spams, and you don't want to send spams, but we all get canned emails, and you can tell when someone took the time to. You can tell when someone personalized something to you, or when somebody took some time to actually send a thoughtful email pitch. So this is not the most effective method, these generic emails, but it's still much better than not doing anything. Because like I said, you can time it right in a good market like we're in right now. This is a very busy environment that we're in as far as study supply is concerned. There, you can just get lucky and time it right. Sometimes sponsors are looking for sites and they'll be happy to see your email. So we're going to get into that as well. The more you put into your email pitch, your initial email pitch, the better and more effective it's going to be. So you will see ROI, and you can keep tweaking it. And everyone's pitch will be different. I mean, you've got to highlight your strengths, and you don't really want to talk about your weaknesses, at least in your initial pitch. There'll be plenty of times to discuss your weaknesses, mostly at site selection visits, site initiation visits, but you don't want to do that in the email pitches. So focus on your strengths. Everyone's strengths are different. Maybe you have a PI with a lot of experience. Maybe you have a PI with a lot of patients in their database. Maybe you have a really strong research support staff. Could be a number of things. Maybe the area that you're in is uniquely positioned for a particular indication. There's so many things. Everyone's is going to be different, right? So let's get personal here. Okay, this is the customized email pitch. So rather than sending a canned pitch, what you can do is one step better than that. Okay, customize each email. So have one generic canned pitch that's like your template, but then customize each one of those to the particular study that you're applying for. So at least put the indication, and maybe because on clinicaltrials.gov sometimes they show you the inclusion-exclusion criteria. Sometimes they mention, the drug, the investigational product. So put something that somebody who's reading it on the other end can tell that you actually took the time to learn a little bit about their study, as opposed to just mass emailing random people with the same email message. So this does take more time and effort, but it's far more effective than a canned email. And it's really just as simple as customizing your canned email to include a therapeutic indication that you're applying for. If you just do that, you're already so much better than so many of these canned email messages, right? So here's the do's and the don'ts. Okay, make sure you introduce yourself, who you are. All right, you're not a company. I'm not Global Clinical Trials. I'm Dan Sfera. I don't email and say, hi, I'm Global Clinical Trials, or we are Global Clinical Trials. You're a human being, all right? Include the specific indication the study is focusing on. Discuss how your PI is qualified and experienced in that therapeutic area. Include links to your website. And this is important. If you don't have a website, you better create one. Sponsors are going to be looking, and they are interested in learning more about you. They will want to find your website. You should have a link to it there. If you don't have one, you can make one relatively simply. I use Squarespace. I think it's like $120 a month. Or sorry, not $120 a month, $120 a year for hosting. I can help you design it if you need help. I charge $800 to do that. Just get a website. Okay. So also mention the capabilities and specialties of your research site, and be informative but concise. You don't want to be too long or lengthy email. Here's the don'ts. Include only your site name in the letterhead. That looks horrible. If you email someone from your email address and you say, hey, I'm Global Clinical Trials, or we are Breakthrough Clinical Trials, it looks canned. Also, another thing kind of related to the website thing, try to have a professional email address. So when you buy or register your domain for your website, have an email domain from your company. You can do this through G Suite, which is Gmail for business. It just looks a little better. I mean, if you just have a Gmail or a Yahoo, that's okay. Better than not doing any biz dev, but it's better to have a domain with your site name in it. Don't be vague about what study or indication you're interested in, and don't write a novel. All right. I've seen some of these people's pitches, and they're like 3 pages.
What, they don't have time to read novels?
No, these people on clinicaltrials.gov don't have time to read novels.
Oh.
Right. So save your lengthier reply for the follow-up emails later on, which we're going to get into. So, metrics. You should include metrics in your emails, okay? How many patients are in your database? Give them a rough, you don't need to put it to the exact one patient. Give them a rough estimate. Do you have less than 5,000, more than 5,000? What's the breakdown of their treatments? If it's a disconnecting. If it's a schizophrenia study, what percentage are taking antipsychotics, atypicals? What percentage are taking mood stabilizers? What are some of the common treatments that your physicians specialize in for their private practice? If you don't know these things, you need to talk to your PI. Ask them. They know. They're not going to tell you if you don't ask. They're busy. Include the demographics of your patient population. Enrollment metrics from past studies, okay, if you have that. Not everyone does. So if you have enrollment metrics from former studies, give them a breakdown. How many did you screen? How many did you randomize? How many did you screen fail? How many completed, right?
So, sounds like you're working on a book at this point.
No, you're not working on a book.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would it be okay just to email and say, I reached out a couple weeks ago about this study. I haven't received a response. I'm just following up to see if you're still actively looking for sites.
Yeah, that's the follow-up.
Service to you.
That's the follow-up.
Oh, I thought that's what we were discussing.
No, this is the initial.
Oh.
The initial, you want them to reply, so you want these things.
Okay. I'm sorry. Again, I haven't been listening. Please forgive me.
No, it's okay. People, when they email, they put like personal stories in there. Like, don't take that out.
Yeah, agreed.
Include metrics. Include real numbers, or as close to real as you can get. Okay. Try to put these in the body of the email, but if you have like a PowerPoint or a PDF, include that in your follow-up email. Okay. But in your initial pitch, it should be generic, but still include some metrics. Okay. Talk about study startup. Sponsors look for sites with fast startup and regulatory turnaround time. In and out, especially when they are looking for add-on sites. So speed is what matters. Every day that a drug is in clinical trials, it's $1 million a day. So if you take 2 weeks to complete your contract in regulatory and their average is 6 weeks, you're looking really good. Not only that, if you just mention that in your email, it reads like you're not an amateur, like you've done this before, like you understand what study startup even is. So, and regulatory even is. This is especially good for the new sites. I mean, if you want to speak the industry language, okay? One of the most widely used words in this industry is study startup time and regulatory time. So include that in your email. An example, our site typically negotiates budgets within 1 to 2 weeks and has a 1 to 2 week turnaround time on regulatory. That will get someone's attention. It really would.
I agree, especially if they're looking for sites.
Especially if they're looking for add-on sites.
Yeah.
All right. here's a great way to end your email. You can use this. Copy and paste it if you want. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please send me a CDA or feasibility survey, and I will get back to you the same day or the next business day at the latest. And then when they do that, make sure that you actually do that. Okay, it's amazing how many people say that but don't do it. So now, Chris Sauber,
we're going to follow up.
Now we're getting into the follow-up. Keep the ball rolling, says Amy. The connection keeps going in and out, but keep the ball rolling. Chat questions in the chat. Let's go. How's the audio? Hopefully you can hear. So you're going to be rejected a lot. Okay.
Which is true in all sales.
The default.
And you're doing sales now.
You're doing sales. The default is no. Okay, 90% of the time or more. In my experiences, it's been 90% when it's just my initial pitch. Most get ignored. I get responses, a lot of automatic replies. I'm out of the office. That's the same thing as an ignore.
Well, we had this happen recently. We have a site owner academy, and one of the individuals on the academy said his response was, "How did you get my email?" Recall? Right, to his pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So
the study director.
Right. So what would be an appropriate response to something like that? If that were a response that you received,
the truth. Where did you find it? Maybe you got it from a colleague.
You're listed on clinicaltrials.gov, and I would be an appropriate fit for this trial. I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, you're listed on clinicaltrials.gov as the contact. Perhaps there's another person I should reach out to. I'm sorry to inconvenience you.
Saw your site, but apologize at the same time.
Yeah, and don't give up.
Yep.
And I would follow up with him or her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And we're going to get into the tools, how to track all this. So most of the emails you send will be ignored. This is why it's important to play the numbers game and send as many pitches as possible. As your site builds a brand, you're going to get ignored less.
And this is the response that one individual received is actually better than being ignored.
Yeah, you have a line of communication now, so it's better than being ignored, getting a response. And we're going to get into the no's too. So rejection is the default. If you don't like rejection, you're probably in the wrong business, and you probably would be better suited to be an employee as opposed to a business owner. The good news is you can learn how to like it. I didn't like it when I first started. You learn over time. Just know that it's normal. It's not a personal reflection on you, your value, your worth. It's just the way the business is.
I don't know if I agree with the liking part of it, but you certainly can develop thicker skin and it won't bother you.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so 90% ignore. 10% will actually respond. Some will say no. That's okay. Others will say variations of no. You'll get a lot of maybes, or you'll get a lot of not right nows. Okay, those are great for following up later. But make sure you respond to all of them immediately. And some will send you a CDA.
And also advise to keep a log of all of these responses you receive, because you can reach out to them a year or two later and say, do you have any trials now that you're actually recruiting sites for?
Yeah, we're going to get into the tools too later for how to track that. So many others that respond to you will likely say they are not actively looking now, but they will keep your info for future studies. Keep their information in your CRM. This is a customer retention management tool.
Mm-hmm. Essentially what I just said.
Yeah, you can get a free one. It's called a HubSpot. I use it. Salesforce. Salesforce is another one. So Salesforce you pay for. HubSpot you can pay for. But I've been using the free version just because it's simple tracking. And I don't know if any of the slides talk about it, but you can essentially, anyone that you reach out to, you should put in there, but especially put in the ones that respond. No matter what they say, if they respond, put them in there, copy and paste your message that you sent and their message that they replied in the notes in your CRM, in your HubSpot, or in your Salesforce, and then earmark it, and you can set an alert so that the system actually alerts you when you should follow up. So maybe it's in 3 months, maybe it's in 6 months, maybe it's in a year, but you want to follow up at some point. Maybe it's in 2 weeks. Depends on what they replied to you, right? So now we're getting into the CRM. It's customer relationship management tool. So I was close, I think. Or maybe that's what I said. This is a database that helps you track and monitor your leads and your follow-ups. Like I said, Salesforce seems to be the industry leader, but HubSpot is really good too, and HubSpot is free. So I know a lot of you are bootstrapping, myself included. We always have a research clinic that's in startup mode, so I use HubSpot to track. I know Chris likes Excel. Tell them how they can use Excel. I prefer tools, but Excel is a tool also. So you tell them why you like Excel.
It's not complicated, right? I mean, you're just keeping track of an email. You can keep track of dates that you last spoke with them, or what you spoke to them about. It's just a way to track what you're doing.
Can you have Excel alert you though of when?
No.
Okay, so that's free version. Even a free CRM is like Excel on steroids because it can alert you when you should follow up. Now, some of the paid ones will actually follow up for you automatically. You put in pre-written emails like, this is follow-up number 1, this is follow-up number 2, this is follow-up number 3. You can program when you want to send it out. That's probably the next step that I will take, is do this. But quite honestly, we're just building out our whole biz dev thing right now. And it's not just me anymore, it's a team of people. So we got to make sure we're all on the same page. But yes, I love CRMs. I think everyone should have one. If nothing else, at least keep it in Excel, like Chris said. Every lead you email should be put into there. Make notes for each lead, like I just said. Set alerts to remind you when to follow up with them. Okay, so and you can change this and you can play around with this on the timing of when to send the follow-ups based on what they reply, because that's valuable information. But if they don't give you a time frame, I've categorized it into 3 groups. So the ones that ignore you or say no, okay, you should program to follow up in 3 months with another email. You can send the same exact email you sent the first time, or maybe experiment with a new version of it. Maybe create your own follow-up email. Again, if you customize it, the more you customize it for that particular study and that particular person, the better. Okay, so for the ones that ignore or say no, 3 months. The ones that say not now, I would say another 3 months. The same thing as the ones that ignore you. But your message should be different. The ones that say the message should be different. The ones that say not now. You can even reply to the previous thread where they said not now, so that they can read the history that you guys have. So you're no longer a cold email, right? You're somebody that they've interacted with before. And then some will send you a CDA. So after you responded and send the CDA, follow up with them once every 2 weeks to touch base and ask for any updates on the study. After the CDA, you want a feasibility survey. So your email here should be not who you are and your capabilities. They already know that. You've got a CDA already. Now you want a feasibility survey, right? So your email, your follow-up here should be different. And again, experiment and cater it. Make it unique for your site and your strengths, but also make it unique and customize it for the particular study, right? Follow up, follow up, follow up. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments or concerns, we'll leave the line open for a few minutes. Chris, any color commentary? Following up, email pitches. What do you like to see? What do you do?
So again, I may be stating things you've already said, but with a follow-up email to one that you're actively pursuing, I like to give it 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks until I get a response, right? Or, well, 2 weeks initially for my initial reaching out to the site, right? 2 weeks follow-up email. If there is no response, pretty much a week later. So if you have a system that allows automated emails, I would set it up every week until you get a response. But that may seem like a negative, but I don't necessarily think it does, because now you have somebody you can hopefully have an open dialogue with, right? So yeah, they're going to be aggravated. They've received 15 emails from you. Please stop emailing me might be their simple response, and you can apologize, right?
Please stop emailing. You can apologize, and I would follow up with that person every year.
Well, I would apologize and then state, I just, my PI would love to work on this trial. If you're not in need of any other sites, if something similar comes along, please reach out.
Yep. We got a question. How many new email pitches should you be sending out a week? Anything more than 0 is great. Ideally, and it all depends how much time you have. And this is why, not to plug our services, but this is why we provide so much value for $1,000 a month. I mean, forget about doing the budgets and contracts for you, actually answering the feasibility surveys, helping you with SOPs, with you creating your source docs, all those things that are time consuming, which we do for the same services, the same price, all inclusive for $1,000 a month. We do this biz dev for you every week. And every week, how many do you think we reach out to every week on behalf of our clients? Like, how many do we send out every week? Would you?
Initial?
Yeah.
I would be completely guessing, but I would say at a minimum, probably 15, 20.
15 to 20 a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. 15 to 20 a week.
For actively recruiting studies.
Yes.
But again, I'm guessing.
15 to 20 a week is like the minimum benchmark. You should be doing this as often as possible.
But they're doing it to just contacts for those, right?
Well, they're just on clinicaltrials.gov.
Oh, okay.
Just reaching out.
Yeah.
Right. If you really need a study, and this is a challenge for everybody, go on clinicaltrials.gov. Between now and next Wednesday, you'll have a week. Email 100, and good things will happen. You'll get 1 CDA at least. All right. If you write decently, you don't have typos and grammar issues, and you follow this webinar, like more or less. If you send out 100 email pitches in 1 week, you'll get a CDA.
Sure.
You will.
And we're in a little different situation than a typical site because we have sponsors and CROs reaching out to us directly.
Yeah, we have a bunch of inbound coming in.
Because they know of our situation,
right,
with all the clients we have. And they're coming to us asking if any of our clients would be interested in this particular trial.
So if you include those, we're doing like 100 emails per site.
Well, I was going somewhere with it. So as a site, you'll eventually get there too in a roundabout way, right? You'll develop relationships with companies you've worked with before. They'll have an understanding of your capabilities, and they'll come to you passively like they do with us. A little different situation, but not entirely. They'll come to you and say, hey, would your PI be interested in this trial? Or you may even something a little further. We worked with you in the past on this trial. Do you think your PI would be interested in this trial, right? So eventually it comes passively, not to the point that you can solely rely on that, but definitely beneficial, obviously. Passive is great, right? When you don't have to put in a lot of work to have
Yeah, and that'll come. Those passive inbound leads will come, but you need to respond to those too, right? But as far as cold email pitches that you should be sending out a week, obviously the more the better. Like I said, if you do 100 in a week, I don't expect you to maintain that throughout the year or even throughout the month, but 15 maybe every week just to be consistent with it. And we do it for you, and we actually will leverage the inbound leads we get as well. We're setting up some deals with some CROs so we can get even more studies for our clients. But yeah, like as you can't send too many. All right, you can't send too many. So 15 to 20 is a good bottom, is a good floor for how many email pitches you should be sending a week. I think the most I ever did was like 100 something. Actually, a couple years ago, I had a 100 email challenge.
Yes, I remember that.
Maybe we should do that again. Whoever's still on or listening or watching, I challenge you between now, Wednesday, August 29th, till whatever Wednesday next week is. And you got Labor Day here, so maybe this is not a good week.
No, it's even better. It's a little more difficult.
It's even more difficult. If you send 100 emails, okay, and you send me screenshots, of who replied and what happened, I need to see proof. You will get something, all right? Maybe the first 5 people to do this. First 5 people that email me, dan@theclinicaltrialsguru.com, with proof of their outbox and proof of the replies.
If I recall correctly, last time it was a shirt, a book and a shirt. I don't recall what it was.
Last time I gave people I think I gave them a guru hoodie
and a book
and
something.
A book. This time it'll be something better.
But I think you only had to do that for one person. Only one person accomplished it, right?
Yeah. No, I sent it for 3 people.
3, okay.
5 or 10 replied back to me, but they didn't do it all the way.
Right.
Like they only did like 70, and they didn't show me who replied and what they said.
Right.
Right. I want to see, like, this has to be real. You can't just hire a bot to do this on Fiverr and then
show
me
the
that.
response.
No, it has to be real. I got to see it. I guarantee you, not for the prize you're going to get from us, although we are much less ghetto now, so it'll be a better prize. But it's for the study for you. Like, you're going to actually get a CDA or 2 out of this. Guarantee you. All right? So if you're up for that challenge, let me know. Email me, dan@theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I'd be curious to see how that goes. I think this is a good time to do it. If there's no more questions, I think this is a good time to end it. Anything else you want to promote? Site Owner Academy, our services, I think we did that enough.
Yeah.
Good luck. Go do the challenge, 100 email challenge, and send me proof, and you'll get something cool. All right? Take care, everybody. Talk to you all later, and good luck.